birth to a child. Okay. In time, the woman gave birth to a child. She called him Samson. The boy grew up with the blessing of the Eternal. The spirit of the Eternal first began to move him in the encampment of Dan between Zorah and Eshtaol. Is that the end?
I believe that is.
Okay. This was quite interesting because it's very similar to what happened to Sarah and Abraham.
There's a lot of in the Bible with
women
and fertility.
Yeah.
Rachel and Leah.
Right.
And,
it's very interesting.
That's what got Jacob.
Had she not told her husband, who, had said she was going to become pregnant, there could have been a problem. He could have accused her of infidelity.
Which is what ties in with in the Torah portion this week. The Sota.
Very interesting. Everything gets tied together.
But did you see who the boy turned out to be? Who was a Nazarite? Samson.
Right.
Yes. Right.
So this is setting up the next story where Samson and Delilah and the pillars and whatever, because as you read by the story of Samson, he was a Nazarite. Where did he come from? He came from this story.
Very interesting.
And he was also stupid. He let himself be blinded by beauty.
Right.
Well, that's very common with men. So I don't think it's stupid. I think it's part of the kind of the lust that men have. That's all. I don't think anything is really stupid because we all do things that, that caused by through our emotions or our libido or whatever.
Gary, where's Michael tonight?
He's there.
I'm here.
You don't see him?
He's here.
How are you?
Good.
This is great. We got a lot of people on board tonight. Wow, look at this.
A nice group, yes.
Yep.
And also, do you know what
Samson from the Torah?
Yeah. Do you know do you remember what his big his ability came from?
He's here.
There you go. Everyone knows the story. Absolutely.
It's a great song by the Grateful Dead too, Samson and Delilah.
Right. And we didn't welcome Monique, so Monique just came in. Hi, Monique.
Hello.
Nice to see you.
Myrna, how you feeling?
Much better, thank you.
I don't get to see you anymore.
I'm sorry.
I don't get to see you anymore.
You're right. Well, you will. Somehow.
Good.
This is a very difficult time for all of us.
Most of us we don't get to see after Ed because we're not at the temple anymore. So
yeah, things are going very slowly at the temple. They're finding more and more problems as they move.
Really?
That always happens when you start working.
Oh, I hadn't heard that.
Yeah.
Well, I miss Ed and Elaine because I used to see them at I have to laugh every time I say this, the Kaplan Estates, because it's from being an estate. That's a misnomer if I ever heard one. But it's nice to see you this way.
You thought of it as like Alcatraz, right?
Well, not quite. Actually, I have to tell you, I was very pleasant. I smiled at everybody, and all because I knew I wasn't going to stay there forever. Oh.
Okay. Is somebody going to start reading?
Yeah, who wants to start the Torah?
Does somebody new want to start? Somebody
new. Nobody's volunteered.
Myrna hasn't read in a long time. Yeah.
Judy?
In other words, just reading, are you saying you just
read what's there? Yeah.
Continue reading? Okay. The Eternal One spoke to Moses. Take a census of the Gershonites also by their ancestral house and by their clans. Record them from the age of 35 years up to the age of 50. All who are subject to service in the performance of tasks for the tent of meeting. Does it tell us what the tent of meeting is down here? Does,
Oh,
I
hell no, wait,
don't see
that's-
the
that's
bottom,
like
does it tell us?
The tabernacle, basically.
It's the tabernacle. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, hell
These
no
are the
way.
these are the duties of the Gershonite clans as to labor and porterage. They shall carry the cloths of the tabernacle, the tent of meeting with its covering, the covering of dolphin skin that is on top of it, and the screen for the entrance of the tent of meeting. The hangings of the enclosure, the screen at the entrance of the gate of the enclosure that surrounds the tabernacle, the cords thereof, and the altar, and all their service equipment and all their accessories, and they shall perform the service. All the duties of the Gershonites, all their porterage, and all their service shall be performed on orders from Aaron and his sons. You shall make them responsible for attending to all their porterage. Those are the duties of the Gershonite clans for the tent of meeting. They shall attend to them under the direction of Ithamar, son of Aaron, the priest. Is someone else wanting to read, or shall I continue?
Continue.
As for the Merarites, you shall record them by the clans of their ancestral house. You shall record them from the age of 30 years up to the age of 50, all who are subject to service in the performance of the duties for the tent of meeting. These are their porterage tasks in connection with their various duties for the tent of meeting. The planks, the bars, the posts, and the sockets of the tabernacle. The posts around the enclosure and their sockets, pegs, and cords, all these furnishings and their service. You shall list by name the objects that are their porterage tasks. Those are the duties of the Merarite clans pertaining to their various duties in the tent of meeting under the direction of Ithamar, son of Aaron the priest. If you want me to read some more, I need.
He's
to have-
gonna go up. He's gonna go, he just has the pointer. He has to go up.
Okay, I don't know at what point you stop to talk.
Right at the bottom. So Moses, Aaron.
And the
Oh,
chief.
Can you see that? Yeah, that'll
Oh,
change.
so
Okay, there you go.
Okay. I missed it. So Moses and Aaron and,
And the chief.
Oh, wait a second.
Wait a minute. He's jumping around now. Hold on a minute.
Hold it. Where was the?
I read
Yeah,
that.
that's it, that's
it.
Okay,
Alright,
so
there.
Oh, here we
Moses,
are. So, okay.
Aaron, and the chieftains of
Community up at
community
the top.
recorded the code by the clans of the ancestral house. From the age of 30 years up to the age of 50, all who are subject to service for work relating to the tent of meeting. Those recorded by their clans came to 2,750. That was the enrollment of the Kohathite clans, all those who performed duties relating to the tent of meeting, whom Moses and Aaron recorded at the command of the Eternal through Moses. The directions are very clear and very thorough, aren't they?
I have a
Yes.
question though.
As they always are.
Would, could we,
Gershonites who were recorded by the clans of their ancestral house from the age of 30 years up to the age of 50, all who were subject to service for work relating to the tent of meeting. Those recorded by the clans of their ancestral house came to 2,630. That was the enrollment of the Gershonite clans, all those performing duties relating to the tent of meeting, whom Moses and Aaron recorded at the command of the Eternal.
Myrna, did you have your hand up? I'm sorry.
yeah, I wanted to know if we consider this the first draft. Not draft, but to be drafted, because it sounds like you reached that particular age in between 30 and 50. That's when the draft begins.
That
So-
was part of why they were
How
taking
this-
the census. That
Well,
was part
yeah,
of the
but
reason
they
why
had
they
to,
took the
they had to
census.
provide a duty. So I said to myself, that seems like the first time that we had a draft. I wonder if there were any draft dodgers. I'm trying to lighten things up, guys. Smile.
LBJ.
All right, Myrna.
LBJ. How many kids did you kill today? Hell no. We won't know.
Funny.
Yeah.
Where did we leave off from? The Gershonites were recorded by the clans, and we are now on 42.
Yes. Do you want to pick it up, Myrna? Thank you so much, Judy. Thank you.
Thanks,
Am I
Judy.
continuing?
No, you. I think Myrna's going to pick it up. Thank you.
I'm going to pick it up right now.
40.
The enrollment of the Merarite clans by the clans of their this is very confusing, by the clans of their ancestral house from the age of 30 years up to the age of 50, all who were subject to service for work relating to the tent of meeting, those recorded by their clans came to 3,200. Those recorded by their clans came, oh, I said that. That was the enrollment of the Merarite clans, which Moses and Aaron recorded at the command of the Eternal through Moses. I have a question, though. Between 30 and 50, why did they choose that? Is that partly based on wisdom? I mean, in other words, we would talk about that their enrollment is too old, that we should be younger. So why would you think 30 to 50 would be their?
No, I think you're right. I think you're right, Myrna, because I believe we're talking about the Levites. I think we're talking about the ones that are going to serve in the tabernacle. So last week, God actually instilled, I think, one of the first, in last week's portion, God instilled one of the first actual census of the Hebrew people, of the Israelites. So I think we're breaking it down into the service of the people at the tabernacle. So going back to last week, it started at 20 years, right, Gary? And it went
I believe
all the way
so.
up.
But I think part of the census too, like I said, was familiar, if they were to go to war.
Yes.
But I think it would be, I don't know if it would be so much, like I think the Levites, like they had physical work to do, a lot of schlepping and stuff. So maybe they had to be in a certain physical shape,
Yeah, if they cut it off.
I just think that first of all, the Gershonites, there were 4 groups. They did a schlepping, and this was a schlepper. The Gershonites were schleppers. I'm getting ready to read about the Merarites, Merarites. And it's interesting. Why 30 years old?
Yeah.
Well, if between 13 and 30, they needed them for soldiers. They want people who couldn't fight to be doing other schlepping. So I think that it was just an issue. Look, if you're young, pick up your sword. If you can't pick up your sword, then put up the curtains, and that's what they did. The Gershonites were the people who hung the curtains in the tabernacle. So it might just been of that. They're getting ready for war here, and they didn't want a bunch of Altacakas getting ready for war.
But
there's the Gershonites and Maronites. There's the Altacakas. So
okay, you just changed the Bible, but that's okay.
That's what happens underground. That's what happens.
It happens underground.
Yeah,
Right.
This is an underground Torah study.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
the other thing is, can I just want to interject for
Go ahead,
one more
please
second.
do.
I'm kind of jumping ahead to the next paragraph because this relates to last week. Last week we got a number of the Israelites going through the desert, and it was 6 million, I think, right? Does everyone remember that?
600,000.
Or
I
600,000.
think it was 600.
600,000, right? And
It was 600,000.
600,000. Thank you, Monique. Thank you for keeping me on track. So anyway, I did a little looking into the commentary here, and they actually think it wasn't that many because it would just be so massive, and they're thinking it was more around 50,000, and it had to do with this word Eleph, which means 1,000. It can mean 1,000, or it can mean contingent. And they think it meant contingent and that it was mistranslated somehow. So if you look down here at number 48, you see how the number of 8,500 is
Wait a minute, how did you jump to 48? I'm still on 46.
Well,
Okay.
he said he's going ahead. He was saying.
No,
he's
I know,
going
but I don't see where he's going. I would like to,
Oh.
would you read? I
48
will
is
follow.
after 46. Those
All the way
reported
down at the
paid
bottom of the
8,000
page. Yeah.
at the bottom
See
of the
how it says
page.
this is
Okay,
commentary
okay,
part,
see.
and it says it's a number far larger than the limited work required. So the numbers here might be original, in the Torah portion, the numbers might be a little high, I guess, by maybe a digit or so. So
Well,
that's
how do you know those guys that seem to have been quite prolific, having a lot of progeny coming up? Otherwise, we wouldn't have any future.
so true. So true. All right, that's all I have for the numbers. So the numbers are kind of not exactly perfectly correct as far as we know. Would anyone like to continue? Myrna, why don't you continue? 46. And I'm frozen. Everyone's frozen.
Was I on 46?
Yes.
You were
My mind here.
46, Myrna.
Yeah, thank you. All the Levites whom Moses of the duties of service and porterage relating to the tent of meeting. Those recorded came to 380. Was that a 3 or 5?
It's
5. It was a 5 or 3. I'm losing my mind. My eyesight's going. Anyway, no, it's a 5. Each one was given responsibility for his service and porterage at the command of the Eternal through Moses. And each was recorded as the Eternal had commanded Moses. The Eternal One spoke to Moses, saying, instruct the Israelites to remove from camp anyone with an eruption or a discharge, and anyone defiled by a corpse. Remove male and female alike. Put them outside the camp so that they do not defile the camp of those in whose midst I dwell. The Israelites did so, putting them outside the camp as the Eternal had spoken to Moses. So the Israelites did. The Eternal One spoke to Moses, saying, speak to the Israelites. When men or women individually commit any wrong toward a fellow human being, thus breaking faith with the Eternal, and they realize their guilt, they should in the principal amount and add 1/5 to it, giving it to the one who was wronged. If that party is deceased and has no kin to whom restitution can be made, the amount paid shall go to the Eternal for the priest, in addition to the ram of expiation, with which expiation is made on their behalf. So, 2, any gift among the sacred donations shall be the priest's, and each shall retain his sentence. What is the Eternal One spoke to Moses, saying, Israelite people, and say to them, wife has gone astray, broken faith with her, in that a man has had carnal relations with unbeknownst to her husband herself without being forced, and there is no witness against her. But a fit of jealousy comes over him, and he is wrought up about the wife who has defiled herself. Or if a fit of jealousy comes over one, and he is wrought up about his wife, although she has not defiled herself, the husband shall bring his wife to the priest, and he shall bring as an offering for her 1/10 of an ephah of barley flour. No oil shall be poured upon it, and no frankincense shall be laid on it, for it is a meal offering of jealousy, a meal offering of remembrance, which recalls wrongdoing. That's terribly unfair. The priest shall bring her forward and have her stand before the Eternal. The priest shall take sacred water in an earthen vessel, and taking some of the earth that is on the floor of the tabernacle, the priest shall put it into the water. After he has made the wife stand before the Eternal, the priest shall bear the wife's head and place upon her hands the meal offering of remembrance, which is the meal offering. This is terrible. I'm sorry, of remember, which is a meal offering of jealousy. And in the priest's hands shall be the water of bitterness that induces the spell. The priest shall adjure the wife, saying to her, if no other party has lain with you, if you have not gone astray in defilement while married to your husband, be immune to harm from this water of bitterness that induces the spell. But if you have gone astray while married to your husband and have defiled yourself, if a man other than your husband has had carnal relations with you, here the priest shall administer the curse of adjuration to the wife, as the priest goes on to say to the wife, may the Eternal make you a curse. And imprecation, this is very bad, among your people, as the Eternal causes your thigh to sag and your belly to descend rather. May this water that induces the spell enter your body, causing the belly to distend and the thigh to sag, and the wife shall say, amen, amen. The priest shall put these curses down in writing and rub it off into the water of bitterness. He is to make the wife drink the water of bitterness that induces the spell, so that the spell-inducing water may enter into her to bring on bitterness. Then the priest shall take from the wife's hand the meal offering of jealousy, elevate the meal offering before the Eternal, and present it on the altar. The priest shall scoop out of the meal offering a token part of it and turn it into smoke on the altar. Last, he shall make the wife drink the water. Once he has made her drink the water, if she has defiled herself by breaking faith with her husband, the spell-inducing water shall enter into her to bring on bitterness, so that her belly shall distend. You know something? A very jealous husband can somehow finagle this and make the wife seem like she's broken a trust when she may not have. This is fraught with all kinds of problems. I object.
And
It's called the sota.
You know
That's
what?
that
But you know what I
ritual is
always
called.
find interesting? It's always the wife that if she, let's say she is unfaithful, I never hear about the guy being unfaithful. What happens in the
Well, you-
Torah?
5,000 yearly property.
I know, but still, a man, if he's unfaithful to his wife, should have some type of punishment.
I believe that. I believe he gets put to death, doesn't he, Gary? If there's
no.
yeah,
It says that the Torah does say that if a man
if they're
is
caught,
to lie
if they're
with
caught. This is in
Right.
case somebody isn't caught.
Yeah.
Let's go
Yeah,
back
they're
because
caught, yeah.
the whole issue here is that the husband has what is it, a hint that maybe his wife is cheating on him. Okay, so that's a problem. Yes, I agree with Myrna. Yes, this is a problem. So so what do they conjure up this whole ritual, right, of water, and if it's a bitterness.
Bitter.
It's
It'd only
called
be bitter
sota.
if he was, yeah.
Sota.
So supposedly God is in the water, and God knows whether or not the wife is faithful or not. And so the water only works if she's not faithful. And I agree with what, Myrna, you're going with here, because you're saying in all the pressure of society, and someone's accusing the woman who might be completely totally faithful, totally upright and just. And yeah, I get it. You know, she could, there could be like, oh, she could be nervous about it all. What happens, It would make a wonderful Spielberg film. This would be awesome.
Right.
You would wind up with flies, and it wouldn't fit.
But it's
What is the
sorry.
guy that
I
get a
couldn't
sagging belly and
resist
a
that.
so
belly?
fraught with, no, innocent, but they're so nervous that it would actually affect them. And oh, she's guilty when she might just have an upset stomach from this crap. This is fraught with problems. I'm sorry.
Yes, well, there's a lot of things that are fraught with problems, you know? There's a lot of, there's lots of conflicting stories in the Torah.
Hmm.
You
Yeah,
know,
it's
I think we should have had some we should have some female judges that should have been involved in this.
that's true.
Not fair at all. I protest. In fact, somebody else can get on. I'm too upset about
Do you want me
this.
to?
Well, you did a lot of reading.
Yes.
Thank you very much, really.
You
I
want me
appreciate
to
it,
read?
Myrna, really.
Yeah, Gary, go for it.
I'll
Gary.
read. All right, so we're
Gary.
at 28, right? We're at 28.
Yes. I think so.
But if the wife is not filed for herself and is this is the ritual in cases of jealousy, when a wife goes astray while married to her husband and defiles herself, or when a fit of jealousy comes over a husband and he is wrought up over his wife. The wife shall be made to stand before the Eternal, and the priest shall carry out all this ritual with her. The husband shall be clear of guilt, but that wife shall suffer for guilt. The Eternal One spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the Israelites and say to them, If any man or woman explicitly utters a Nazarite's vow to set themselves apart for the Eternal, they shall abstain from wine and any other intoxicant. They shall not drink vinegar or wine or any other intoxicant, neither shall they drink anything in which grapes have been steeped, nor eat grapes fresh or dried. Throughout their term as Nazarite, they may not eat anything that is obtained from the grapevine, even seeds or skin. Throughout the term of their vow as Nazarite, no razor shall touch their head. It shall remain consecrated until the completion of their term as Nazarite of the Eternal. The hair of their head being left to grow untrimmed. Throughout the term that they have set apart for the Eternal, they shall not go in where there is a dead person. Even if their father or mother or their brother or sister should die, they must not become defiled for any of them, since hair set apart for God is upon their head. Throughout their term as Nazarite, they are consecrated to the Eternal. If someone dies suddenly nearby, defiling the consecrated hair, the Nazarite shall shave his head at the time of becoming pure, shaving it on the 7th day. On the 8th day, that person shall bring 2 turtle doves or 2 pigeons to the priest at the entrance of the tent of meeting. The priest shall offer one purgation offering and make expiation on the person's behalf for the guilt incurred through the corpse. That same day, the head shall be reconsecrated, and that person shall rededicate to the Eternal the term as Nazarite, bringing a lamb in its first year as a penalty offering. The previous period shall be void, since the consecrated hair was defiled. This is the ritual for the Nazarite. On the day that the term as Nazarite is completed, the person shall be brought to the entrance of the tent of meeting. As an offering to the Eternal, that person shall present 1 male lamb in its first year without blemish for a burnt offering, 1 ewe lamb in its first year without blemish for a purgation offering, 1 ram without blemish for an offering of unleavened cakes of flour with mixed in, and unleavened wafers spread with libation. Should I keep going?
I can read.
Okay.
You?
You all set?
Where are you? Where did you stop?
Oh, right at the top, right at number 16.
Oh, okay. The priest shall present them before the Eternal and offer the purgation offering and the burnt offering. He shall offer the ram as sacrifice of well-being to the Eternal, together with the basket of unleavened cakes. The priest shall also offer the meal offerings and the libations. The Nazarite shall then shave the consecrated hair at the entrance of the tent of meeting, and take those locks of consecrated hair and put them on the fire that is under the sacrifice of well-being. The priest shall take the shoulder of the ram when it has been boiled, 1 unleavened cake from the basket and 1 unleavened wafer, and place them on the hands of the Nazarite after the consecrated hair has been shaved. The priest shall elevate them as an elevation offering before the Eternal, and this shall be a sacred donation for the priest. In addition to the beast of the elevation offering and the thigh of the gift offering, after that the Nazarite may drink wine. Such is the obligation of a Nazarite, except that those who vow an offering to the Eternal of what they can afford beyond their Nazarite requirements must do exactly according to the vows that they have made beyond their obligations as Nazarites. The Eternal One spoke to Moses, "Speak to Aaron and his sons. Thus shall you bless the people of Israel. Say to them, the Eternal bless you and protect you. The Eternal deal kindly and graciously with you. The Eternal bestow divine favor upon you and grant you peace. Thus they shall link my name with the people of Israel, and I will bless them."
Can we stop for 1 second?
Sure.
Yeah, that is the priestly blessing. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. Right? Yirei Adonai panav elecha v'chunecha. Right? And then wait a second, and then we get up here. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. Right?
That's awesome.
Just
Yeah.
wanted to share that. That's the
Very
priestly
nice. That's really
benediction.
nice to share.
Yivarecha. Yeah.
And that's how they do it that's how the rabbis do it, like this.
Yep, just like Mr. Spock, Lenny Nimoy, a nice Jewish boy from Dorchester. That's why he played Spock.
No, he was from Newton.
Him and William Shatner.
Oh,
You
He
heard that
was
Hanukkah
from
song.
Newton.
Did you know he's from no, Ruth? He's my second cousin. My mother,
I didn't know that, Ed, until Phil mentioned that the morning that he spoke at the
Didn't
temple.
he live in Newton?
No.
No, I know.
First wife maybe, but
Oh.
they were in the West End.
Oh,
But yeah, he grew up in the West End.
no, I understand that, but I thought he lived in Newton before he died. Okay.
No.
He was my barber.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Max is Max Nimoy. Max and his wife Dora, my second cousins. We knew. I met Lenny when he was playing the American Indian in westerns, and my mother and Lenny Nimoy are very close. They're both dead, but they were very close. And every time he came to visit, he'd come and see my mother, and they go for dinner, coffee, whatever. But yeah, he was very close with my mother.
That's nice.
He was once in an episode of Columbo that was really good. He was a psychotic
Everybody was
doctor.
in Columbo at one point.
In fact, I got in touch just before he died. We were cleaning out our house, and we found the keys to his father's barber shop. His father was in business with my grandfather on Chamber Street in Boston, and we found the keys to the barber shop. And I texted him. I said, "You want the keys?" And he said, "Nah, I keep them."
Do you know Ed? Do you know Max Platter?
No, I don't know Max Platter.
Because when I used to go to him, that was the guy that was in the shop with him on Blue Hill Ave.
It was Max Nimoy was his father, who was a barber too.
But I'm saying, right, but in his shop, Max Nimoy had this other guy working with the Max.
As a kid, my mother took me to my grandfather's barbershop, and I don't remember because my grandfather died so young, extremely young. Wow. And it was an interesting situation. That's time for another story. And for another
Both
time.
My parents are from the West End. Both my parents are from the West End.
Wow.
There's now a West End museum, and
yeah, I know. I actually went to see it.
I haven't. It's been closed.
But what? No, I'm talking.
And everything I gave to my brother Larry, my youngest brother, and he has stuff to donate to that museum, except they've been closed. We should talk at some point about the new museum coming to Boston that's being built. The new Holocaust museum.
Right, I heard about that too. Yeah.
At some point we talk about that. I'm donating my whole collection. I've already been speaking to them.
Wow.
Gary, you've seen the collection.
Oh
Some,
God, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
when you had it set up in the foyer at TTI.
yeah, when you stood in front of
Oh,
it, the star was on you.
oh
Uh,
man.
yeah, but it's going to go to. It's going. I've already talked to them, and we're working out the details. But I'm getting old. I don't want that. I don't want to keep that collection. It's valuable for me to keep. Valuable not in terms of money, but in terms of history.
Yeah, cultural significance, absolutely.
But yeah.
That's wonderful. Wow, I can't wait for that. I can't wait to see that, Dr. Red.
When we do that, I'll let you know.
Yeah, I
You could
want to
take
know.
that.
Keep me
You
posted.
could take that, Michael.
Add it to your
For your
film.
own use, whatever. But yeah, I'm giving them the election.
Yeah. Going back to the Torah now for a second. That priestly blessing also is it's really it's amazing because that is said, I believe, like after every Catholic mass. That same exact blessing. They don't do the Dr. Spock thing, but because anytime I come across it, it's like, oh, I heard that when I was a kid. I heard that over and over and over. So Torah rules.
I completely lost.
Oh, I'm on
Who's reading?
7:1.
7-1.
Oh, good, 7-1. Go ahead.
On the day that Moses finished setting up the tabernacle, he anointed and consecrated it and all its furnishings, as well as the altar and its utensils. When he had anointed and consecrated them, the chieftains of Israel, the heads of houses, namely the chieftains of the tribes who were in charge of enrollment, drew near and brought their offering before the Eternal, 6 draught carts and 12 oxen, a cart for every 2 chieftains and an ox for each one. When they had brought them before the tabernacle, the Eternal One said to Moses, accept these from them for use in the service of the tent of meeting, and give them to the Levites according to their respective services. Moses took the carts and the oxen and gave them to the Levites. 2 carts and 4 oxen he gave to the Gershonites as required for their service, and 4 carts and 8 oxen he gave to the Merarites as required for their service, under the direction of Itamar, son of Aaron the priest. But to the Kohathites he did not give any, since theirs was the service of the most sacred objects. Their porterage was by shoulder. The chieftains also brought dedication of being anointed. As the chieftains were presenting their offerings before the altar, the Eternal One said to Moses, let them present their offerings for the dedication of the altar, 1 chieftain each day. One who presented his offering on the first day was Nashon, son of Aminadab. On the second day, Nathanael, son of Zuar, chieftain of Issachar, made his offering. The sanctuary, both filled with choice flour with oil mixed in for a meal offering. 1 gold ladle of 10 shekels filled with incense. 1 bull of the herd, 1 ram, and 1 lamb in its first year for a burnt offering. 1 goat for a purgation offering, and for his sacrifice of well-being, 2 oxen, 5 rams, 5 he-goats, and 5 yearling lambs. That was the offering of Eliab, son of Helon. I'm going to stop reading here.
Okay. Does anybody else want to? Or?
Yeah, we have a lot
Okay.
to go through still. There's like
Okay,
another.
I'll finish up.
I
if you'd
can
like.
read it. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, oh, go ahead. No, please, Ed, please read. It's okay. I already read. Ed, you can read.
We did number 30, correct?
Right.
On the 4th day, it was the chieftain of the Reubenites, Elizur, son of Shedur, His offering, 1 silver bowl weighing 130 shekels, and 1 silver basin of 70 shekels by the sanctuary weight, both filled with choice flour with oil mixed in for a meal offering. 1 gold ladle of 10 shekels filled with incense. 1 bull of the herd, 1 ram and 1 lamb in its first year for a burnt offering. 1 goat for a purgation offering, and for the sacrifice of well-being, 2 oxen, 5 rams, 5 he-goats, and 5 yearling lambs. That was the offering of Eleazar, son of Shadur. On the 5th day, it was the chieftain of the Simonites, Shalumiel, son of Zurishaddai. His offering, 1 silver bowl weighing 130 shekels, and 1 silver basin of 70 shekels by the sanctuary weight, both filled with choice flour with oil mixed in for meal offering. 1 gold laden of 10 shekels filled with incense. 1 bull of the herd, 1 ram and 1 lamb in its first year for a burnt offering. 1 goat for a purgation offering, and for his sacrifice of well-being, 2 oxen, 5 rams, 5 he-goats, and 5 yearling lambs, and a partridge in a pear tree. That was the offering of
I've
Shmuel,
been dying to say that for the last hour. Good for you, get a point, Ed.
son of Zurishaddai. On the 6th day, it was the chieftain of the Gadites, Eliasaph, son of Duel, his offering. 1 silver bowl weighing 130 shekels, and 1 silver basin of 70 shekels by the sanctuary weight, both filled with choice flour and oil mixed in, for a meal offering. 1 gold ladle of 10 shekels filled with incense. 1 bull of the herd, 1 ram and 1 lamb in its first year for a burnt offering. 1 goat for a purgation offering, and for the sacrifice of well-being, 2 oxen, 5 rams, 5 he-goats, and 5 yearly lambs. That was the offering of Eliasaph, son of Duel.
If you
On the
want to,
7th day,
yeah, if you want to just read the first line and the last line of each one, because I believe they're the same.
yeah, on the 7th day, it was the chieftain of the Ephraimites, Elishama, son of Ammihud. That was the offering of Elishama, son of Aphrohud. On the 8th day, it was the chieftain of the Massonites, the Manassites, Gamil, son of Pedhur. That was the offering of Gamil. On the 10th day, it was the chieftain of the Danites, Eleazar, son of Ammishaddai. That was the offering of Eleazar, son of Ammishaddai. On the 11th day was the chieftain of the Ashurites, Pagel, son of Oshram. That was the offering of Pagel. This was the you got to go back one. If we're going to do this right, you got to go back one. On the 11th day, the chieftain of the Ashurites. Okay. On the 12th day, it was the chieftain of the Naphalites, Ahira, son of Enam. Now you can page. That was the offering, Ahira, son of Enam. This was the dedication offering for the altar from the chieftains of Israel upon being anointed. Silver bowls, 12 silver basins, 12 gold ladles, 12 silver bowl, 130 per basin, 70 total silver of vessels, 2,400 sanctuary shekels. The 12 gold ladles filled with incense, 10 sanctuary shekels per ladle, total gold of the ladles 120. Total of the herd of animals for burnt offering, 12 bulls of rams or yearling lambs with their proper meal offerings, of goats for purgation offerings. Total of herd animals for sacrifice or well-being, 24 bulls of rams, 60, of he-goats, 60, of yearly lambs, 60. That was the dedication offering for the altar after its anointing. When Moses went into the tent of the meeting to speak with God, he would hear the voice addressing him from above the cover that was on the top of the ark of the pact between the 2 cherubim. Thus God spoke to him.
Amen.
That was the longest, wickedest Torah portion. I was thinking about the Orthodox that when they do their bat mitzvahs or bar mitzvahs, they do the whole portion. That's a long portion, I'll tell you. That's a real long, wicked portion. I can't believe how long that was.
Go ahead, Judy. What
As I'm listening to this, this is common when you read, this stuff is repeated, this repetitive stuff and on and on. But what's interesting is that every little detail was so important to write down at that time, if in fact it's exactly true, and if in fact it was written as exactly as it says. But the detail was so important to these people. It's just a very amazing. It amazes me all the time.
I'll tell you what bothers me about this. Every time you read something like this and you talk about all the gold and the shekels and they barely had, as far as I knew, they didn't have time to even bake the bread. They took the unleavened bread with them and ran out. And all of a sudden,
yet they had all this stuff with them.
Yeah.
In other words, I don't remember where are they going with this. I haven't, read it this personally in so long that this particular piece, it feels like this is not the end. They're going somewhere with all these gifts. I mean, going somewhere, not physically.
Well, yeah, the whole thing is the lessons, right? All of this is such a huge lesson. Every step of this. I mean, right.
Yeah.
The big thing for me is the egalitarian part of it all, where each tribe donates exactly the same amount. It's all like, and then there's a record of it. So that's like kind of ties in with what you're saying. It's like the importance of that they all do the same bit, the same pieces, and they have a record. And I mean, in the same way, as we're rebuilding the temple in Peabody, maybe we don't do it like this, but per se, but we recognize people who maybe give more because they have more, and so it's interesting that this continues to a degree.
You know what I find very interesting or puzzling? We know the descendants of Abraham, and there, and others like I'll give you a couple of those, the ones that are from the Israelites and all. Do we know of any of these tribes that have survived, that any people can trace their lineage back to any of these tribes? What happened to all of them?
I come from Adam and Eve. And then Noah.
Yeah, I'm supposed to come from Adam and Eve too. So there are people that do tracing of this. I mean, I don't know who they are, but there are people that trace things back. I don't know.
Yeah. Last week,
I find this very puzzling.
It's not puzzling to some people, though. There is. I mean, that's what I think is so interesting. Is so specific about when they're describing it in the Torah. They do talk about all these incredible tribes and who was born to this tribe, and I think it's very documented historically to me, anyways.
So where did they all go? Did they all die? Is this what we're supposed to?
Well, of course, everybody died, but there was other people that.
No, yeah, but can you trace your lineage back to one of these names of one of the tribes?
I might not be able to, but somebody else could. I might not be able to.
The Kohanim have that like DNA test. Remember Dr. Mike was
they have
about
DNA testing and all this, today.
To prove your connection.
We cannot go back to the different tribes. It's maybe the Levites can and the Cohens, but you can't go any further than that.
That's about it, isn't it?
That's about it. That's all we can do.
The rest of us are not schleppers.
Yeah.
Maybe, we could have schlepping in our heritage.
But maybe we didn't have the technology today then, but I still think that if you were able to, that you would be able to trace back. I mean, we just don't have the documentation, maybe.
Well, it's not the issue of documentation, it's the standard. It's the standard. The standard meaning that what do you compare it to? if you do 100 different people, let's say you did the 12, and you got a million people, and they broke down into 12 different groups. What are the groups? All you know is that 12 different groups. You can't.
Yeah.
There's no point to say. There's nobody to stand and say, well, the original was this. With the Kohanim, they were able to do it because all the Kohanim had the same genetic background. But that's all they could say. But 12 groups, 12 groups. What does that mean? I don't know.
Interesting though, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it
There's
meant
a lot
at
of
the
things like
time.
this. There's a lot of things that we can't prove, but it doesn't mean it couldn't exist. That's what I'm saying.
But doesn't it puzzle you? Don't you say, where did all these people go? What happened to them? Were they slaves and killed? I just find this, I wish that somebody could tell me that they chased their DNA back to XYZ. I mean, they can do the Levites and then they can do the Kohanim, but that's about it. The rest of us like me with the Richardsons.
Anybody can say anything, We have a U.S. senator who says she's an Indian and she's got less Indian than I do. I can tell you I'm a member of the tribe. She's not. And now, everything she got in her whole life, she said, because she claimed she was an Indian. Every opportunity she got in her life was because she claimed she was an Indian. Oh, so, maybe I should have claimed I was an Indian.
Excuse me, you have to say indigenous person now.
Well, that's correct. That's correct. Indigenous, I understand that. And that's okay. I can say indigenous person, but I'm not going to lie.
Okay, Dr. Ed, here's a question, a scientific question. Does DNA exist in mummified people, like the mummies of Egypt?
It's hard to tell. It's really not hard to tell. It's they have been able to look at certain pieces, but those. Let me tell you why. They weren't just. It wasn't just that in today what we do is when we embalm someone, we stick them full of formaldehyde, and 90% gets pushed into the tissues. But for them to mummify, what they did is they put people in pieces of people. You took all the organs out and they put them in Coptic jars, and they desiccated them for months and months and months. After they died, the mummification process took a year or so. So, they put them in brine and they wrapped them in salt, and they really did a pretty good job in destroying, basically what they did is they leatherized the person. They turned them into leather.
Wow.
All the organs were taken out, and that's what all those Coptic jars out, and they individually mummified all of the. And we make a big deal out of mummies now. For many years, the British, when they occupied Egypt, they used mummies for fuel in the trains. They burnt the mummies.
Oh, geez,
that's not true. I actually looked that up. That's a Mark Twain story. That's actually
it's absolutely true.
It goes back. Mark Twain was joking about it. Mark Twain made
I'm not so sure. There are hundreds, there are millions of mummies out there. Well, and everybody was mummified. Anybody of note was mummified.
Well, all I know is I left my mummy.
Oh, yeah.
So,
There are a lot of questions, but no real answers any longer.
No, in fact,
I don't think there's ever real. See, my difference is I don't have to know every truth of everything. I just kind of like to know what I like to read things and some perspective on things, but I don't get all caught up in the
Have
truth.
anyone seen the famous mummy of Boston? Has anyone seen that? The famous mummy of Boston? Mass General Hospital in their ether dome has a mummy. No one ever knows where it came from, but in the ether dome, I've seen it many times.
Naso or Natalie Nogger.
There is a mummy, and the ether dome was where they first used ether in the whole world, and that was at Mass General. And it's all still there. Everything's still there. They still use it for meetings on occasion. But inside there is a mummy in there in a sarcophagus, not sarcophagus, what do they call coffin or whatever,
Yeah.
mummy, and it's still there. And nobody really knows where it ever came from or why it's there. But the famous mummy of Boston is in Mass General Hospital.
Wow.
Wasn't it in the late 80s when Ramses was at the Museum of Science?
Mm-hmm.
I
So,
remember going
but
to
if you're
that.
ever at Mass General Hospital, go down to the Ether Dome. Really, go down to the Ether Dome. It's open. There's nobody ever in it. It's just but it's magnificent. It's mid 1800s, and you can go see the mummy.
Wow. Wow.